Hello and welcome to Memeobi's Galaxy. I'm your host, Memeobi. This is episode 0 of my podcast. So if you're listening to this, you have gotten in very early or you've gone back to the beginning. This episode's basically going to go over who I am and the future of this podcast and like what it is and why you should listen. So I'm Memeobi. I run the Instagram account, Obi-Wan Memeobi. And I've been doing that for about 4 years now. But that is not when my Star Wars journey began. I'm going to go over who I am and where I come from and why I know about Star Wars and why I love Star Wars, to hopefully get you guys to resonate with that, maybe connect more with me on a more personal level. So I was born in the mid-90s. I am the youngest of 7 children in my family. We were very homeschooled and sheltered. With that, I have 4 older brothers who were all into Star Wars. So my very earliest memory with Star Wars is I was probably 3 years old. I crawled out of my bed. I was supposed to be asleep. My brothers were watching a movie. I crawled in and I watched Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker fight on Cloud City, and I was hooked. So I was always raised around Star Wars figures. This is before the prequels came out, so I was pretty well versed in the Star Wars not lore, but the movies very well. So I enjoyed the original trilogy a lot. With that being said, I was the perfect age for the prequels. In '99, when they rolled out, I was too young, or my siblings didn't want to take me to the theaters, but they went, and my older brothers loved it. My brother came back, and he explained to us all of the songs and the whole story, kind of ruined the whole thing, and told us how amazing the pod race was, and he just explained just how awesome it was. He literally taught us Duel of the Fates from memory, and we all stood on, us younger siblings, we stood on a picnic table and did a choir rendition, and he taught us different words. He was like, coleslaw, baklava. He taught us all these different words to get us to sing Duel of the Fates. My first movie-going experience with Star Wars was Episode 2. It was in Theater 6 in our local theater when I was growing up. I sat in the middle to right section. I remember it very well, and it was game changing. I was not very old. I was 7 years old. So, but I was the perfect age. Yoda fighting was the most epic thing, and like the Trade Federation, all the stuff. Episode 2, Episode 3, saw in theaters, loved them. Spent all of my Lego sets were Star Wars growing up. I went through a phase where I thought maybe I needed to grow up. Right after I turned 18, I had my graduation tassel on my mirror of my car. I drive around. I thought it was cool. I started going to college, and I thought to myself, I need to grow up. I need to be an adult. I need to not be a kid. I threw away my tassel off my mirror. I got married. At 20 years old to my wonderful wife. We'd known each other since we were about 15 years old, and we've been dating. Only people we ever dated. Classic homeschool shelteredness, dating one person and marrying them. We got married and moved out on our own. We were trying to figure out our vibe of our house and stuff like that, and we didn't want to put my Star Wars books out on full display, so I decided to get rid of them. I gave them to my brother, and it's one of my bigger regrets I have is getting rid of those books. I need to rebuy them, but I decided to move on and be an adult. And with that, I started living my life, doing stuff, and I started having a commute that was an hour both ways, so 2 hours a day. I stopped at a Love's gas station, and I saw an audiobook for a Star Wars book. It was called Star Wars, I think Jedi Outcast. It's one about Luke being outcast from the Jedi Order. I started listening to it, and I started getting hooked again. I downloaded Audible, and I downloaded the next 15 books in that series. I then downloaded the one after that, and then I did the Thrawn trilogy, and then I did the one with Jason Solo, and I got really hooked on the whole thing. With that, the next movies were released, right? So Episode 7, 8, 9, which I wasn't in this social media world, so I wasn't paying attention to what people were saying about them because I just didn't care. I liked them. I didn't like The Last Jedi, and I liked The Force Awakens. It was fine when 2020 hit. So I thought, my wife had been telling me for a long time, you need to get a hobby. You need a hobby. You don't do anything. You just sit around. You just do the yard work. You're just hanging out. You're always doing my stuff. So you need to get a hobby. And I did. I keep saying podcast. I did not start a podcast. I started an Instagram account. I thought, I like memes. Let's freaking do it. Let's send it and let's get a meme account. Now, the process of starting a meme account, I'm not proud of what I did. I don't suggest doing what I did in here. What I did was I cheated the system to get followers. How I did that was I posted, I think 10 or 15 memes to make my page look good. I then followed 10,000 people. Yep, I followed 10,000 people. I went to hashtags like follow for follow, and I followed every single person I could find. I went to other big Star Wars Instagram accounts. I followed every single person that followed them, and I followed 10,000 people, which is way too many people. But that got me to my first 1,000 followers. Then I went back and I unfollowed all 10,000, and I got down to 66. I then got shadow banned by Instagram and couldn't post for 2 weeks. But I started consistently posting. I posted every single day for the past 4 years, sometimes twice a day, a reel and a meme. I'm now down to 5 times a week, but I started growing a community, and I started making some friends, and I started making a place that I kind of thought not necessarily better than other social medias, and not social medias, but better like than other influencers, kind of create a community that I thought was something cool. I've made quite a few friends, I've gotten some cool opportunities, and I've met a lot of different people through this endeavor. That's kind of me in a nutshell. I'm trying to let my more quirky side come out in this podcast, but it is hard because I find myself wanting to do the radio voice. Welcome to Memeobi's Galaxy. Today we have Jon Stewart on, but I need to not do that because that's not what a podcast is. And I'd also need not do this because this is too serious. I need to talk normal. I need to be regular. So this is the podcast. This is Memeobi's Galaxy. This is episode 0. This is not what it will normally be like. Here is the schedule for the next 1 year. I'm dedicating 1 year of my life to this podcast, and we will see how it goes. This is not supposed to be my background right now. I didn't mean to put that on. I didn't mean to put, why is it doing that? Very cool, very cool. For audio listeners, I have a 64-bit LED screen behind me that's playing some just different images that I did not choose for it. It's supposed to have my logo on here, and it is not showing my logo. Very nice. Anyways, this is how it's going to go. I'm going to post this episode. This will be posted to all the major podcasting places. So if you don't like where you're listening to right now, go somewhere else. It's probably there. This video podcast will be posted to YouTube. I'll be posting episode 0. Episode 1 will be a deep dive into Star Wars episode 3. Let me get you I have all these like fancy names I've come up with. So this is going to be called The Fall of the Jedi, Analyzing Revenge of the Sith. And it is co-hosted by my friend Austin, whose favorite movie, Star Wars movie, is episode 3. And that is pretty much the premise of my first 12 episodes. I'm going to have someone on, physically here in the room with me, that will talk about their favorite Star Wars movie. And I'm going to have one person for each Star Wars movie. And yes, I have someone for The Last Jedi. That'll be my first 12 episodes, all theatrically released Star Wars movies. Bonusly to that, between those bi-weekly updates, I will be doing weekly posts on here for any new show that comes out. So during the Skeleton Crew, starting December 3rd, I will be posting a weekly review that night after watching it. My neighbor and I, Ethan, will watch the show. We'll come down here into my basement, and we will record an episode reviewing each episode of the Skeleton Crew. And with that, we're not going to look at any other social media. We're not going to look at what other people think about the show. So it'll be a pure review of what our pure thoughts. No outside information at all. That is the gist of what this podcast will be. So with that, I would like to reach out to you. If you see anything I'm doing wrong or things I could do better, please message me on my Instagram at Obi1_Memeobi, or at my email address, which is obi1.memeobi@gmail.com. And let me know what I can do better, what I can change. Plus, let me know if you have anyone that would like to be on this, because I can do web-based ones, or I can travel to meet with different people. I once met. Here's a fun story. I think I'll probably tell this story in my episode 3, my episode 1, episode 3 episode, my Revenge of the Sith episode. But I got the privilege of meeting and hanging out with a guy named Ross Beedman, who plays the character that goes, Master Skywalker, there's too many of them. What are we going to do? I met him at a convention. We got talking. We started talking about theology. We started hanging out. And then I drove him and 3 other people that have been in Star Wars movies and shows. I drove them to Benihana's and we hung out. We're still in contact. So I do have him on the list of joining the podcast when he comes back to the States because he's from England. So if you happen to know anybody that you would like to see on here or have contacts with, let me know because I'm very excited to get to meet more people and just explore this galaxy with you guys. Fun fact, my 1-week anniversary of being married and my 2-week anniversary of being married, I went and saw The Force Awakens. With that, we're going to wrap up. And thank you for making it this far. If you made it this far, I am very impressed. And if you did make this far, our sponsor for today is the like button. If you're on a certain, depending on which place you're listening to this podcast or watching, you can either leave a like, you can leave a follow, or you can leave a review if you're on iPhone. So if you're on podcast, go ahead and leave a 5-star review for us because we have some really good content. It won't normally be me just talking. We're always going to have a guest from now on. And we have some pretty fun guests that I think you guys are going to like. So thank you for joining Memeobi's Galaxy. May the Force be with you. What happened to this? Are you kidding me? This is not supposed to be doing this, but not